Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Julian Grace. Well, Vice President Kamala Harris took to the stage in Greenville less than 2 hours ago as we enter the final stretch ahead of the election. Both candidates are hitting the campaign trail in hopes of getting support in the weeks ahead of the election. WRAL's Carly Haynes joins us live now from downtown Raleigh with more on what Harris talked about today. Carly.
Well, Julian, voters will be heading to the polls for early voting starting just this Thursday. Meanwhile, candidates are squeezing in their final campaign stops, especially in swing states like North Carolina.
I tell you, it's going to be a tight race until the very end. And we are running as the underdog. So we have some hard work ahead of us, but we like hard work.
Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris took the stage in Minges Coliseum at East Carolina University, touting an agenda of protecting reproductive freedom, supporting small business owners and entrepreneurs, and keeping the nation secure.
I will always put the middle class and working people first.
This is her 19th visit to North Carolina this election cycle, and her first campaign rally here since Helene hit more than 2 weeks ago, when all rallies were suspended.
Now, I know Helene's impact was further west, but I also know that the people of Greenville, like all Americans, have been inspired by the way communities are coming together, Bishop.
Earlier in the day, Harris spoke at a Greenville church where she showed support for hurricane victims.
We have seen those who have lost everything gathering donations for others.
She herself gathered donations the previous evening in Raleigh. She now heads back to Washington, D.C. And if you're requesting an absentee ballot, you have until October 29th to do so. The general election is just about 22 days away. Carly Haynes, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
Former President Donald Trump's running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, was in North Carolina today. Now, he went to the 400 Cup Series race at Charlotte Motor Speedway with his family. He was also seen taking pictures with Donald Trump Jr. Vance will make another campaign stop in North Carolina later this week. He's holding a rally in Wilmington on Wednesday evening at the Aero Center. The rally is open to the public. Well, in the latest national NBC News poll, former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris are in a dead heat. Let's look at the numbers. Harris has a 48%. Trump has 48% as well. Now, 44%, I should say, said they are undecided or would not vote for either candidate. That's a change from the NBC poll in September, which showed Harris with a 5-point lead. Another notable point is the gender gap between Harris and Trump. Women support Harris by a 14-point margin. Men support Trump by a 16-point margin. Well, Cumberland County election officials will conduct voting machine tests tomorrow. The accuracy test will take place at the County Board of Elections office in Fayetteville. All machines are being used in the election across North Carolina's 100 counties. They will all undergo testing like you see right there. Well, we have a voter guide on our website at WRAL.com. It has more information about same-day registration, all the important dates you need to know about, as well as information on how to vote by mail and voter ID. Just search Election 2024. Well, folks in Cumberland, Hoke, and Moore counties will soon have easier access to court records. The e-court system will go online tomorrow. The online system will slowly come to all North Carolina counties. You can see the counties shaded in yellow here have already moved to the e-court system. That includes Wake County. The counties shaded in green will join the system tomorrow. So far this year, the system has saved at least 5 million pieces of paper. Wow. Raleigh police are investigating after 2 adults and a juvenile were shot on Capitol Boulevard last night. This is what we know at this hour. All 3 victims have non-life-threatening injuries. 2 businesses and 2 cars were damaged by gunfire at the plaza there. No arrests have been made at this point. The investigation continues. We now know a 12-year-old and 2 14-year-olds were among those hurt in a shooting in Nashville, Tennessee. This happened last night near Tennessee State University. The school was celebrating homecoming this weekend. This is what else we're finding out. 1 man was killed in the shooting. He was 24 years old. 9 other people were hurt. Police say this all started because of a fight between 2 groups of people, but they do not believe this was gang related. 100 American troops will deploy to Israel to operate an advanced anti-missile system. Now, the Pentagon says this will help the country bolster their air defense after several strikes in Iran. Meantime, Israeli strikes in Gaza this weekend have killed at least 14 people. That's according to the hospital in the region. Israel also continues strikes in Lebanon. During its operations, the Israeli military says it captured a Hezbollah fighter. More than 1,200 FEMA crews remain on the ground in North Carolina, with more arriving daily in the aftermath of Helene. The White House says federal disaster assistance for survivors in our state has surpassed $86 million. Now, power has been restored to about 96% of customers, and 93% of cellular sites are back in service. Among the many areas devastated in our mountains was Buncombe County, including Asheville. Just look at all the damage there. In today's update, Arts AVL shared that 80% of the area known as the River Arts District was destroyed. The community included 26 warehouses and 300 artists. It's the #1 arts district in our state and a major part of Western North Carolina's economy.
The loss is devastating. There are many areas along the Blue Ridge that have beautiful scenery, but our creative community is one of the things that make the Asheville area stand out from the rest. Our artists and arts organizations are a major economic driver and revitalizer.
Arts AVL is launching an emergency grant program for affected artists tomorrow. Those eligible may be able to receive a $500 stipend. Applications will be on Arts AVL's website. Students in Buncombe County have been out of school now for about 3 weeks due to the damage from Helene. The district recently confirmed 4 students have tragically lost their lives from the storm, and many families relocated to the Triangle as recovery efforts in their hometowns are underway. WRAL's Laura Levine shows us how mental health specialists are helping students process the loss and all of the uncertainty.
Several families displaced by Hurricane Helene are coming together here in Chapel Hill, processing and talking through some of the trauma related to the storm, but also getting therapy and love at the same time.
How are you?
All right, how about you?
How are you? That's how several reunions began here at Chapel Hill Community Center Park.
This wasn't necessarily something that was taught in the school counseling playbook, right? How to work through devastation, loss during a natural disaster.
Joe Ainsworth is a high school counselor in Buncombe County Schools, reconnecting with families who also came to the Triangle in the wake of the storm.
And I know as an adult, I'm having trouble processing the trauma from this natural disaster. Can you imagine what a kid has to go through? How they're trying to pick up the pieces and figure things out?
So with the picnic, he decided to organize mental health professionals, therapists, and counselors, even therapy dogs, to provide support for students of all ages.
And it was pretty scary. It was super surreal just seeing my home just in a completely different way. It almost felt like the end of the world, like the apocalypse or something like that.
A.C. Reynolds High School senior Jaden Thomas relocated with her sister, having to leave her dad behind, who is a tree lineman, now helping to restore their community.
How are you handling your mental health during this time?
I'm just trying to take it day by day. I still have college applications that are due in the next 2 weeks, so I'm just giving myself grace with that and doing what I can.
She tells me she's coping by looking ahead to her future. She's been able to tour college campuses while here. The section leader of her marching band also gets to return to practice on Monday as the district resumes extracurricular activities.
Which is super cool. It's a sense of normalcy that we're bringing back, which I really appreciate.
A glimmer of hope built in a community determined to get through this life-changing event together.
The personal loss, the property loss, the loss of instruction with schools, it's all going to be something that we have to work through as a community.
Laura Levine, WRAL News, Chapel Hill.
Great to see that support coming in. Processing emotions after natural disasters can be difficult, especially for children, right? We have some resources on our website right now. Just search Mental Health Helene on WRAL.com. We still have so much more to talk about. President Biden was back in Florida today, touring damage from Hurricane Milton. His message after a second major storm swept through the state and how the feds plan to help the people who are in his path. Plus, former UNC quarterback Drake May, there he is right there, got the start for the Patriots today. We'll show you how he did ahead in sports. Anthony.
And Julian, we've had some great weather for football across the entire country, really, at this point. 78 degrees is where we sit currently in Raleigh, 73 in Roxborough. We've got a cold front on the way, though. We're going to talk about when it gets here and who could need the winter coat here this week, coming up.
Here's a beautiful shot of Clinton right now. Doesn't it just look great out there? After the newscast, get out there and enjoy the rest of the evening. Well, welcome back. A lot of us remember the famous superhero line, look up in the sky. It's a bird, it's a plane. No, it's Superman. But in one local community, you may look up and see this, a drone.
What do you think is the main utility of what you're doing? How is it helping the officers?
Definitely increases safety, I think, so that way they aren't going into seeing blind. They know what's going on, or they have a better idea about what's going on.
We want to know more about this. Tomorrow night at 6, WRAL investigates the latest high-tech crime-fighting tool and how police say the eye in the sky not only gets them to the scene quicker, but makes it safer for police. WRAL investigates new crime-fighting tools to keep you safe tomorrow night at 6. Learning recovery programs are shrinking and even disappearing from many North Carolina schools. That's because the temporary federal money that funded them is now gone. Remote schooling during COVID-19 pandemic slowed student learning, leading to learning loss. Schools credited the new learning recovery programs with helping students learn at a faster rate. State standardized test data shows they have made up ground, but are still behind in several subject areas. WRAL Education Insider found that schools are still trying to make up that ground, but will have to be extra creative. You can learn more about what we found at the education section of WRAL.com. It might surprise you. Well, President Joe Biden was back in Florida today, touring hurricane damage for the second time in weeks. As Brian Abel shares, it comes as the president and other leaders have urged Congress to work to pass additional funding for disaster relief programs.
President Joe Biden making yet another trip to hurricane-damaged communities in Florida.
I'm here in Florida for the second time in 2 weeks, and to survey the damage from another catastrophic storm, Hurricane Milton.
Biden visited hard-hit St. Petersburg on Sunday and met with residents and first responders. It comes just 10 days after the president was in Florida's Big Bend region surveying the damage caused by Hurricane Helene. He encouraged those affected by the storms and saying it's time to put politics aside.
In moments like this, we come together to take care of each other, not as Democrats or Republicans, but as Americans.
Biden has frequently been in touch with Republican leaders, including the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis. The visit comes as the president and other leaders urge Congress to pass additional funding for disaster relief programs.
We need Congress to act swiftly to fund FEMA and specifically its disaster relief fund because hurricane season is not over.
Biden also announced a major funding to help those impacted by the storms.
Today, I'm proud to announce $612 million to 6 new cutting-edge projects to support communities impacted by Hurricane Helene and Milton.
That funding will be used to help enhance and upgrade the nation's power grid. Nearly 1 million people across Florida still remain without power.
We're hoping they get power soon. Let's bring Anthony back in. Anthony, it has been calm this weekend, beautiful this weekend in North Hills. Just look at that sun right there.
I pulled up this camera and it just kind of screams a joyful picture for us this evening, Julian, after a really hard couple of weeks. We're going to start with this, and then I'm going to talk about a cold front that's on the way that's really going to start to shake things up for us as we head into the upcoming week. I hope all of you, though, have had a good weekend, managed to just enjoy some time off here. Or if you had to work, still, I hope you had a great weekend. Here's that picture you can see out there on North Hills camera. Beautiful. 6:40 is the sunset tonight. Keep in mind, I just looked, we have 3 weeks until the time change, meaning our sunset will be in the 5 o'clock hour as opposed to 6 o'clock. 3 weeks from today, we're going to be kind of seeing those times falling back there and gaining that extra hour of sleep. Where we sit right now, 78 degrees in Raleigh and Durham, 72 in Roxborough, 77 in Southern Pines. It's definitely a warm evening for us, but pretty comfortable overall. You look at the wide picture, though. This kind of shows us the 24 24-hour temperature change. Very clear where we have that cold front, and that's headed this way. Temperatures aren't going to necessarily drop off where we're seeing a 20-degree temperature change or so for the majority of those. Kansas City is definitely cooler, but we are looking at least at that cooler air mass headed this way. Wide view for us there on Futurecast. You can see that front. It is not going to come with much, if any, moisture, which is good. We don't really need any more rain. Warm temperatures, though, for us today. They take a second to get pushed out of here, but by the time that front gets closer early tomorrow morning, a couple things going to happen. That's going to cross. It is going to be dry. We will see the colder air starting to filter in probably late Monday night. It takes a second for that cooler, denser air to get here, but it'll take that cooler air come this way, and we will also be pretty breezy through the majority of our Monday. We're talking wind gusts probably about 15 to a little bit over. There's 21 mile per hour gusts there at 1 o'clock, 15 to 20 through the majority of the day. So it will be a little bit blustery with those winds coming out of the northwest, maybe feeling a little bit cooler than what we've been used to. Here's a look at temps, though, over the next 5 days or so. Our normal high for this time of the year is 74. We about that tomorrow at 73. 65 there on Tuesday. We see temperatures really noticeably dropping off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday there into the 60s. Morning temperatures, check those out. We're getting going. Maybe need a little cup of coffee to heat you up there as we head into Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. 39 degrees Friday, even Thursday morning. We may have some patchy frost across the area. If you have plants that are sitting outside that are really sensitive to the cold, this is not going to be a hard freeze by any means, but I would bring those in. If they don't like the cold at all, those are going to be a couple of good days to have them inside before we get back into the 70s in the next weekend. In the tropics, just a brief check for you. We do have this area that we're watching. I know it looks a little bit ominous, but at this point, development chances are still pretty low. There's a very high likelihood that that would stay south of the United States, and it does not look like a major storm at this point as far as the percentages of being a really strong storm. That is something we will watch, though, closely for you. 73 for us tomorrow, 65 on Tuesday, 60 on Wednesday. Still looking great there, Julian, for the first day of the fair on Thursday, even into next weekend. We hang on to the sunshine.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Anthony. Luis Fernandez is with us now. Luis, just look online. So many people were excited that Drake May hit the field today.
Indeed, he did. Julian, welcome to the NFL. Rookie, former UNC quarterback Drake May makes his first start for the New England Patriots. How May played against last year's rookie phenom C.J. Stroud, plus how NC State helped him out. Next in sports. Caleb Williams was the first pick in the NFL draft this year. He's thrown for 530 yards and 6 touchdowns in his past 2 games. The second pick was Mr. Jalen Daniels. He's played so well, people are starting to throw around 3 letters MVP. So 6 games into the season, the Patriots are finally giving the number 3 pick, UNC quarterback Drake May, his first start. Patriots wearing the throwbacks here. Is that a good omen? Well, it's a shaky start for May and the Pats, trailing 14-0 in the first quarter. He sails it high. Drake May's first interception. 2-minute drill, though, for May and the Patriots, still down 14-0. Number 10 drops back from the 50-yard line with a dime. Downfield, Kayshon Boutte with the catch. Drake May's first NFL touchdown, a 40-yard strike. In the third quarter, 1st and goal, May finds Hunter Henry for the 6-yard score. May ends up throwing for 243 yards, 3 touchdowns, plus 3 turnovers in a losing effort. Texans beat the Pats 41-21.
Yeah, I was a little amped at the start for sure. I think, the biggest thing is having those guys around me. They were great, pumping me up. Coaches, defense, the guys around me were great trying to settle me down, and Jacoby was a big part of that, settled me down on the sideline and pregame. So kind of once you get that first drive, it was 3 and out, and probably could have checked it down on the under, but definitely some stuff to look back and learn from. But I also felt like we did some good things.
A cliche is a cliche for a reason. It tends to be true. One you hear all the time in football is lose the turnover margin, lose the game. The Wolfpack were -3 in the turnover department, and it's where they happened too. A fumble on the Syracuse 32, a fumble on the Syracuse 21, and an interception on the Syracuse 28. Chances are you're coming out of those possessions with at least 3 points each. NC State lost by 7. Those mistakes make all the difference.
All 3 different, but all 3 costly. You would hope that you'd at least get 9 points, 3 trips into the red zone and come up with 0 on all 3 trips. And, you lose by 1 score. Obviously, that dictates the outcome of the game.
NFL football continues on WRAL. Catch Sunday Night Football on WRAL at 8:20 with the Bengals leaving the jungle to play the New York Giants in the concrete jungle. See what I did there? NASCAR playoffs round of 12 closed with a win for Kyle Larson at Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval. Larson dominated this race. He led by more than half the laps. It's Larson's second win at the Charlotte Roval. He won the 2021 race. And check this out. All 4 Hendrick Motors Sports cars earned their way into the next round. One of the most exciting parts, Tyler Riddick was outside the playoff grid about midway through with a spin out that put him in 30th place. He ended up making it all the way back, came in at 11th place, which left him 4 points ahead of Joey Logano for the final spot. And congratulations to North Carolina basketball greats Vince Carter and Walter Davis. Tonight, they're being inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. Carter and the late Davis played for Dean Smith, won a gold medal, were named NBA Rookies of the Year, and combined for 14 All-Stars and 14 All-NBAs. They are the 13th and 14th players or coaches from Carolina to be elected into the Hall of Fame. That trails, Julian, only Kansas.
Only Kansas?
Only Kansas has more players or coaches in the Naismith Hall of Fame.
That sounds like a history question at some
for sure.
point. Maybe
Trivia.
it might be on Jeopardy one day.
Write it down.
All right. Thanks, Lewis, and thank you for joining us tonight. We will see you back later tonight. Have a great evening. See you later. Look at that sunset.